How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video, and with this one I'm going to do a quick review of Spawn, and it's going to be a little bit different with how I've been doing a lot of my other reviews, because to an extent I just want to kind of breeze through this one. And honestly, it's an old one, and it's one of those ones that I thought I have touched yet when it comes down to reviews, but apparently not. So, we'll be talking about the movie Spawn, which was released in 1997. It was directed by the director known as Mark A.Z. Dippy, hopefully, or Dibbay. Written by Todd McFarlane and Alan B. McCoy. Also, a screenwriter, or help with screen story, Mark A.Z. Dippy. And, yeah. Also, I guess to name a few of the actors that are in this, there's Michael J. White and John Leguizamo. So, I guess in further going through this, again, because I want to talk about this briefly, because, honestly, it's one of those films that should be talked about, or at least have some spotlight, because there was a lot of potential for it, but there was a lot of things that went wrong. First of all, for those who don't know the character Spawn, Spawn is basically this comic book character, at least that's where it originates from, of a man who basically was a mercenary who was sent to hell and is charged to become a hellspawn, where he goes around and tries to take revenge on not only the people that wronged him, but also basically, to an extent, taking revenge against the devil, and at some point taking revenge on God. I'm dead serious. That's actually a moment in the comics. But to an extent, we get to see the vengeance on the guy that killed him bit. Now, to an extent, the story itself is actually pretty cool. Again, setting up, where he comes from, what happens to him, and how he goes through trying to get revenge, or at least become the hellspawn that we know him for. But I will admit, especially with how the story is, that I feel like there are moments where the story itself, or at least there are a bit like important pieces, are kind of breezed through, or if anything, there's like jump cuts to a certain degree. Like, for instance, I guess the best way to describe this is there are moments where Spawn, or at least at the very beginning, is learning about his powers, and they just they don't even, like, for a brief 2 seconds, go over his powers, and then that's it. He doesn't have any further training than that, and all of a sudden he just knows everything that he's supposed to when it comes down to his abilities and what he can do, which was kind of jarring to an extent. Now, I will say that above all, that's probably, when it comes down to some gaps with storytelling, I will admit that's probably my only gripe about it. The rest of it, however, is actually done really well. Especially with, again, Spawn himself is, granted, not a great person, but at the same time is, I want to say, he obviously is an anti-hero. Now, going into characters, for that matter, most of them are, how would I describe this? Most of them are kind of forgettable. There is, however, this one particular villain, the guy that murdered him, that was like really, really over the top, which was Jason Wynn, which was played by Martin Sheen. When again, really over the top when it comes down to how evil this guy is supposed to be. Nicole Williamson plays this character Cogliostro, who is, I guess, a previous hellspawn, which I will admit, his design, where you have like the trench coat, or the storm, I think it was like a storm blazer trench coat, I don't know the exact term for the coat he was wearing, and basically kind of looking like the mysterious old withered character, was pretty cool. Michael J. White is, to an extent, okay as the Spawn. I think the one character that a lot of people will gravitate to more, I think more so because of how annoying he is, and especially when it comes down to when he gets his comeuppance, is John Leguizamo's character, who plays the clown slash also his other name, the Violator. There's not much I could talk about, and going further than that, there's not much I could talk about when it comes to music, because I know that's usually a topic that I put into my film reviews, but to a degree, there's not much I could really talk about. If anything, a lot of it is just forgettable. It's like some of it's rock music, but at the same time, I kind of had no interest in looking up what it was. Now, going into CGI. Now, I think this is the big one that a lot of people are going to have issue with. I'm just going to say, to an extent, and I ask you guys to look at some of the criticisms for other reviewers, too, because they will probably say the same thing that I'm saying. There is not the best CGI in Spawn. Or if anything, design choices were not the best. Particularly in situations with, like, where they show, the devil to a degree. And I'm not gonna lie, he does not look good. Especially with them using only one face as he talks, or at least one. There's like no animation for when he talks. It's just him with a giant open mouth and him speaking. It's just, there's nothing to him. Granted, I'm pretty sure that's the design of the devil in the original comic, but at the same time, they could have done something a little bit more. The Violator, or at least the true form of the clown, is pretty interesting, to say the least. There are certain moments where, when it comes to CGI, they just didn't seem complete, or didn't feel like that there was not enough effort put in. If anything, there's this one fade effect that was not done really well near the beginning of, like, Spawn's transformation, I should say, where it's very obvious that the editing was not kind of placed in the best care. But going further than that, so, and I've been saying that a lot in my reviews, huh? But anyway, all in all, it's not a completely bad movie, okay? Now, by the way, going further to something else in CGI, certain moments, especially with Hell, I should bring that up too. But all in all, I'm going to say it's not a completely bad movie, but there's a lot of choices that honestly were not the best when it comes down to the making of this movie. Again, I think the probably two of the biggest faults for it is character, and as well as CGI for the most part. But all in all, especially when it comes down, I guess if anything, the thing that really kind of drives me to watching the movie is the moments with Spawn, with how menacing this character looks and some of the things that this character can do. I think that's what really drew me into this movie. But everything else, not my cup of tea. So, with that, all in all, not much to go with this movie. Again, if anything, the only time that I actually was interested is, again, when we saw Spawn on screen, because it looked cool. He's a badass villain, or a badass anti-hero, for that matter. So, with that, I guess I hate to do it, because again, I want to give these comic book movies a chance, but to an extent, I gotta give this a 4 out of 10. I could see, honestly, I kind of feel like that there could have been improvements to the film, and if they worked on CGI as well as making the characters more memorable, as well as working on a lot of other things, it would have done a lot better. But to a degree, the only time I was ever motivated was, again, when Spawn was on screen. So, with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.
We will feel